Howdy, howdy. This is Mr. Potter. What we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be going into the Gridworld case study. Now, this is not something that's actually tested on the AP exam anymore, but it really is a good way of taking a look at how objects interact with other objects and how to deal with the idea of using methods on an object and using constructors on objects. And the whole idea about Java being an object-oriented language, the idea that you create an object and then you do things to an object through methods, is really encapsulated very, very well in the concept of the grid world. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do File, New Project, and I'm going to do an empty project, and I'm going to change my location to the Gridworld folder that I have on my desktop. So I'm going to access this. Got my desktop. I've got this Gridworld code folder, and then I'm just going to click OK. And notice that it changes all of these locations, but it also gives my project a name, because there is a project file. There is a project file in this folder. So I'm going to hit finish, and because finishing once is not enough, I need to hit finish again. And this is going to bring up my project, and it's going to open up the first Java file that it sees, which is the actor.java. Now, what I really want to look in is in the projects. I want to expand this to the first project, and I want to open up this bug runner, because this really encapsulates the idea of what we're going to be doing. So I've got this class called public class bug runner, and this is a bug runner object, and it has a main method. Now, main is the way that we actually run things, the way we actually execute things. So main is basically a list of instructions that we're going to follow. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a world. We're going to add to it an actor and a bug and a rock and a flower. So we're going to create a new actor and add it to the world. We're going to create a new bug and add it to the world. We're going to create a new rock and add it to the world. We're going to create a new flower and add it to the world. And then once we've done all that, we're going to show off our world. And so this is our basic Gridworld application. So I'm going to run this project. Completed. And then it should pop up with my world that should be populated with an actor, a bug, a rock, and a flower. And here it is. So notice what it's done is it's created a actor, and it's put it in this location, a bug, which is put into this location, a rock, which is put in this location, and a flower. Now, if I were to close this and run it again, it's actually going to put those items in different locations. Because what it does is it generates the locations randomly. So I've created an actor, I've created a bug, I've created a rock, and I've created a flower, but it's done it in a random location. And notice when I leave my mouse on a position, I get this pop-up text. So I've got 3,7 is empty, or 2,5 is empty, or even 0,0 is empty. But if I hover over here, it tells me 2,9 contains a bug with this location and direction and its color. And so I can hover over each of these objects that we've created that it's placed in here. And this allows us to take a look at this grid world. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the step button, and it's going to make each of these objects act. So if I hit step, notice that several things happen. One, rocks don't move. And so this rock is just going to stand here. Similarly, flowers don't move, but you'll notice something about this flower as we continue more steps. And I'll get back to that in just a moment. 3, our actor ends up turning 180 degrees, completely flips. And the next thing is our bug. Notice that our bug moved forward and left a flower behind on its path. So we'll be able to trace the path of this bug as it goes through the environment. So if I hit step again, same thing happens. The rock stays where it is, the flower stays where it is, the actor is flipped 180 degrees, and my bug has taken another step forward, deposited another flower behind it. Now I'm going to run into an issue here because my bug can no longer move forward. So if my bug can't move forward, he has to turn. And our bug doesn't turn 180 degrees. Our bug actually turns 45 degrees. So if I continue with this process, still nowhere for the bug to go, still nowhere for the bug to go, still nowhere for the bug to go, still nowhere. Now the bug can move forward, except he's got these flowers in a way. But we all know that bugs eat flowers. So if I continue to step, the bug eats flowers. And something you may notice is that the flowers that it ate were darker than the flowers that it dropped immediately. And if I continue this, you'll notice this same thing is happening. Every flower, as it stays in this grid, decays, it darkens. Notice that this was a very nice pink color at the very beginning, and now it's this very dark purple lilac color. And you can even see that in this trail of flowers that our bug is leaving behind. The newest flower that was added here is very fresh, very vibrant red, and the colors get darker as the flower stays in the grid for a longer period of time. And if I continue this process, just let my bug kind of walk around, you notice that these flowers that the bug is leaving behind are almost turning black. But this brings up a very interesting idea. The idea that we could make some type of shape with this bug. And so what we're going to be focusing the rest of our lesson on is how to deal with this bug from a more focused idea. In other words, not just doing this generic act, but directly manipulating the bug. And the thing is, a bug really has two things that it does. One is a bug moves, and whenever a bug moves, it takes a step forward. It goes into the next block if it can. And the other thing that our bug does is that it turns. And whenever a bug turns, it turns 45 degrees. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this program a bit. So I'm going to close this window. And I want all of this world stuff, but I don't want these commands here because I only want to deal with one particular bug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put two forward slashes. These are the slashes right next to the shift key on the right side of the keyboard. And what that does is it changes the color of the text, but it also lets the computer know that this is something called a comment. This is something that we're ignoring. So this line of code on line 40 is being completely ignored by the processor. So whenever I compile it, it's going to be completely ignored. If I were to run it, there wouldn't be an actor there. And I can do the same thing for this bug and this rock and this flower. So now all of those things are no longer in the program. If I were to run this, no one's home. This grid is completely empty because all of these objects that we had in here, the rock and the actor and the bug and the flower. I've commented out, so they're no longer there. They're completely ignored by the computer. So what I want to do is I want to create a new bug. And I want to have a lot more control over this bug. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start by creating a bug object called Barry. And he's going to be a new bug. And this is how we're doing it. Notice that this new bug is basically telling the computer to create a bug object. And the sole reason that I'm doing this part here is because I'm telling the computer I want to deal with Barry. I want to do a little bit more with Barry. So now that I've created Barry and I've got my world showing, I want to make sure that I add Barry to my world. So just as before, I'm going to do world.add, but I'm not just going to add any new bug. There's one particular bug that I want, and that's Barry. And so if I run this program, it compiles. And I've got Barry, a bug alone in the world. The problem is that, remember, it puts a bug in a random location. I want this bug to be in a very specific location. I actually want to put this bug in the upper left-hand corner. Now notice that's the coordinate 0, 0. And this is one way that computers are different. We're used to the Cartesian coordinate plane, where my origin is in the lower left-hand corner, and x increases as we go to the right, and y increases as we go up. But a computer is used to trying to display items from the top down, because that's how we read. And so for a computer, the top is where y is equal to 0. And the one below that is where y is equal to 1. And where y is equal to 2. And where y is equal to 3. But there's something else here. This isn't really an x and y, but it's really a row and column. So when I talk about these locations, I want to talk about it in the context of rows and columns. So going back to my code, I want Barry to be a part of this world, but I want Barry to be in a very, very specific location. So I want to tell Barry to move to a very, very particular location, a new location. And my new location will be at the 0 row and 0 column, because most computers start counting at 0. This won't work because the computer has no idea what a location is. This is something special that I have to tell it, hey, look over there to find out what a location is. And that's what these import statements are. The computer has no idea what a world is, or what an actor, or a rock, or a bug, or a flower is. So we tell it with import statements, say, hey, look over there. This explains how to do a bug. Look over here. This explains how to do a rock. And I need to tell it, look over here. This is how we do a location. So I'm going to do info.grid.location. So now that I've told it how to find a location, and I want Barry to move to this location, now when I run this, now Barry's in the right location. He's starting at 0, 0. The problem is right now, if I told Barry to move, he'd move off the top of the screen. He would leave this world, and that's going to be a problem. So I need to tell Barry to turn. And a reminder, Barry turns at 45-degree angles. So I really want to tell Barry to turn twice. So I'm going to tell Barry, after I show my world, I want to do Barry.turn. Now that's going to tell him to turn once. So if I run this and show you what happens, Barry's turned once. He's facing a 45-degree angle. I really want Barry to be facing to the right, so Barry.turn again. And now he's facing to the right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw using Barry. In other words, the idea that every time Barry moves, he leaves a flower behind him, I can put symbols onto this graph. And that's what I'm going to do. Not by pressing the Act button, not by pressing the continuous button, but just by telling him through a series of commands. So I've already told Barry to turn twice, which makes him go to the right. And now I want to tell Barry to move. once, twice, three times, four times, five times, six times. So if I run this, Barry should turn twice, meaning he's facing the right, and he should take 6 steps forward. Okay, there he is. He's now leaving flowers behind. So what I've done is I've created the top of some type of shape. Now, if I were to take these lines of code, these 8 lines of code that I just had, copy them, and then paste them. If I run this code, Barry should turn right twice, which means he's facing the right, and then move, turn right twice. Now he's facing down and move. So I actually have him making a right angle here. And if I continue that again, paste, and again, paste, clean that up. Now it's doing it 4 times, which means it should be doing 4 lines. And so now we've got Barry coming around full circle. So this is the O. Now I want to make a C. So now what I want is I want Barry to start down here in this corner. Now this is row 9, column 9. So I'm going to create, not Barry, I'm going to create a new bug. So I'm going to create a new bug called Billy. So up here where we're creating bugs, I'm going to create a bug called Billy. Get its new bug. And I want to add Billy to the world. And I want Billy to be in a different location. I want Billy to be in the location 9, 9. So now notice that I have Billy in his right spot, and I have Barry who's completed his task. So if this is my O, then if I want to make OC, I really want to make Billy move this way. So I need Billy to turn, and not just turn once, but turn multiple times. And this is something that you'll notice is a recurring theme, is that we often have some task that has to be performed multiple times. So what I need to do is I actually need Billy to turn 6 times. Billy dot turn, and I need this to happen 6 times. So I'm going to copy and paste and paste and paste and paste and paste. And so now Billy's facing the correct direction. So now I want Billy to march forward just like I had Barry marching forward. So I'm going to tell him to move. So Billy dot move, and I want this to happen 6 times. So I'm going to copy and paste and paste and paste and paste and paste and paste. Now if I run this, I should see that he's moved the appropriate amount. So now all I need is for Billy to complete these first 2 turns. So in other words, I want Billy to repeat 2 turns, because it only takes 2 turns to move right for him. So we're going to do that once more and once more. So we should create 3 of these lengths. And there's my OC. So what I've done is I've been able to create initials using my 2 bugs. I've been able to put my initials on here. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and talk about how to print out my output. And graphical output's a little bit different than console output. So for this graphical output, if I want to get this, if I want to copy this, I'm going to do Alt and print screen. and that's going to save, and then I want to paste this into a Word document. So I'm going to minimize this, minimize this, and I'm going to open up Word. So it should be under my Office, new Office document. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste this in. And there is my Gridworld output. So, your job is to change Billy and Barry so that they make your initials. And that's what you're going to be turning in for the assignment. So this is Mr. Potter. Thank you for watching. Have a great